City of Oldsmar Council meeting. It is 7 p.m. I am going to call this meeting to order. First item on our agenda is our invocation and our pledge allegiance to the flag, which will be led by our City Attorney, Tom Trask. Please rise.
Our Father in heaven, we ask your special blessing this Christmas season on all those assembled here tonight. We especially pray for the well-being and health of people throughout the world who are suffering from conflict, illness, hunger, and other human tragedy. May all men and women who are less fortunate than us be ever in our hearts. This we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. Our first item is the Oldsmar Citizens Open Forum. Each speaker will be recognized once and will be limited to a 5-minute presentation on any subject. Please state your name and your address for the record. The open forum will conclude at 7:30. If anybody is here to speak on item 12 on the agenda, which is the speed bumps, can you please wait? I would like everyone to have an opportunity to speak at that time after the city staff does their presentation. But if you would like to wait for that, I would greatly appreciate it. With that, I'm going to open the open forum. Does anybody wish to speak on any other topic but that? Come on up. Anybody on this side? No one? Anybody on this side? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Diane Haberman, 10 Sunny Point Court, Oldsmar. Not in regards to the speed bump, but to the changes that are being done on St. Pete Drive, including the traffic circle and the parking spaces. I know that there has been a lot of planning for that project. One of my questions is that I'm hoping with, or in addition to, our emergency services such as our firemen, our EMS, and other emergency vehicles, that we've also taken into consideration the fact that there is Route 67 of the Pinellas County Transit Authority that has a bus route through there, and that they have been included in this planning process to go ahead and make sure that bus route has not been impeded. So again, just an additional concern to other concerns regarding that project, but to go ahead and make sure that that has also been taken into consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to the council? Come on up.
My name is Don McCurdy, 653 Timber Bay Circle West, Oldsmar. And I'm going to not pay attention to your first instructions, which goes back to the speed bumps and what the problem is. And the problem is not the speed bumps. The problem is enforcement. We, as far as I can observe so far, we probably have the worst enforcement that I've ever seen. We have total disregard of speed limits. Our stop signs are violated every day in quantity. We got parking across the sidewalks. Our bike lanes are terrible. Trash in them on pickup days, they block them. They leave their trash cans in the bike lanes on Lafayette. Our no parking, where it says no parking on our streets, there's parking everywhere. It's just on and on it goes. And we got a trivial little one on enforcement that I'm waiting to see how it's ever handled. We got a watering restriction in this town, which I don't think anybody pays any attention to. Those are the enforcement issues. We need to get some pedestrian lights up at these stop signs so that when somebody wants to cross the street, all they got to do is push the button and we at least get flashing yellow lights. In terms of enforcement, I think we could use our portable electric signs and get some messages up to people that if you don't slow down, it's going to cost you how much money. If you don't stop at stop signs, it's going to cost you. I think people disregard and don't think it's going to be enforced, and they don't realize how much it's going to be to do that. I noticed there's a lot of traffic enforcement on Tampa Road, which in reading the latest memo I got, about 30 pages of it on speed bumps and whatever, it says that Tampa Road is not our jurisdiction, that we can't do anything about it as such. And I'm wondering, are our deputies enforcing traffic on Tampa Road rather than in the city of Oldsmar where they belong? let's see. There was a question come up, and it has nothing to do with enforcement or whatever, but the discussion was sidewalks on the shore side of Shore Drive. The citizens didn't want it years ago. That's because sidewalks would have been in their front lawn and they didn't want them there. One of the ways we can possibly move things around and do a little better on shore is to get sidewalks on both sides of Shore Drive. And about last and not least, the survey that came out on the Lafayette, it reflected maybe 13 people that lived on Lafayette. It had no recognition of the fact that probably 90% of the people that live down offshore use Lafayette as their main ingress and egress from the area. If they want to go shopping at Publix, the only other way around the speed bumps would be to go over and come up and to a couple more traffic lights, and eventually they could get there. We need to, if we want to do another survey, let's get the people that are really affected by it. And as the lady before brought up, the roundabouts, on anywhere you put them, we can't build big enough ones for the vehicles that we have using those roads. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Anybody else like to speak to the council?
I'll make a comment.
Come on up, sir. State your name, please, and your address.
My name is Howard Chipman, 510 Shore Drive East. I lived here for 30 years, and my opinion is that this is a solution in search of a problem. When I moved there, the speed limit was 30. They lowered it to 25 so people wouldn't go over 30. The survey clearly shows people are going around 30 or less. I live there, I don't see a problem. I think a few Karens made some phone calls. You guys did a lot of probably unnecessary work, and now you have to deal with all these solutions in search of a problem. Having those sucks. It ruins your car, ruins your driving experience. I also had to repair my car once because the exhaust came off, and I was going like 5 miles an hour over those bumps. So that's all I have to say. Hope you guys do the right thing and, you know, keep up the good work.
Thank you, Howard.
Thanks for all you guys do.
Come on up, please.
Carla Nassi, 374 Ventura Drive, Oldsmar, Florida. I just want to wish you all the wisdom of Solomon. I remember watching the council meeting when the chamber was full of people complaining that y'all didn't do enough to slow traffic down, and there was a problem. There was a child that was killed. The chamber was full complaining about you didn't do enough. Now you're doing something, and people still aren't happy. So I wish you the wisdom of Solomon as you decide what to do about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak to the council? Come on up, please.
David Llewellyn, 212 Bengal Circle. On behalf of the VFW, just bring you up to date. In October, the auxiliary, of which some of you are a member, made 24 blankets for the veterans that are at the Oldsmar nursing home on Tampa Road. In November, members brought their pets to the home just to make the people there feel a little bit better, because we couldn't bring turkey. But today, we had a hot chocolate and cookies party. Everybody was invited, veterans or otherwise. The VFW, the auxiliary, and I think the Historical Society and a couple of other organizations got together and donated 150 pair of socks, which my wife studiously put a bow around each and every one of them. And they were given out to all of the residents of the nursing home today. In addition, a professional photographer who lives here came in and took pictures of each of the veterans that we were able to photograph. And they will go up on the wall of honor that we are building at the Oldsmar nursing home. a local graphics company provided us with a beautiful sign. I can't name the company. We could do more and we could do better if we had a home. We are grateful for the use of the library, and it has been a significant improvement over some people imbibing too much at a local fish house. But we really do need about 1,000 square feet. We have historical items to keep in an environmentally controlled place. We are getting more donations today as a result of this party from some folks from items from World War II and Korea. And if we could use workspace and what have you, I don't think that we need to have another bar in Oldsmar. I think the last one didn't make it. Aside from that, I have received a information regarding Form 6, which I understand that everybody is aware of. But I'm wondering if all of the council members are going to sign the Form 6, or if we're going to need more elections in March. And I don't know who's to provide that information, but one way or the other, we do need to know by December 31st. The other thing I was surprised to read is that high-ranking people in the city, like the city manager and the town attorney for the city and for the planning board, are not required to provide a Form 6, which seemed out of sorts when you consider people who are in very valuable positions. I don't know how we get the governor back here to make that change if that's needed, but it would be good to hear from each of you that you are or are not going to sign Form 6. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for the update. Anybody else like to speak to the council? Come on up.
Thank you. I can't stay all night, so. Amber Stevens, 318 Lafayette Boulevard. Thank you, Mayor and City Council and staff for the workshop and providing data on the speed bumps. As you discuss this item on the agenda today, let me remind everyone that removing the speed bumps without traffic calming measures is not an option for the city. Data has shown these speed bumps are an effective solution to a known speeding problem. Simply removing them would be negligent action and therefore council or city staff to approve. We can discuss other traffic slowing measures, but these are likely to increase the cost. As a mother of 2 young kids who has seen firsthand speeders on Lafayette across from the busy park, let me emphasize the city's duty to take reasonable and prudent actions to minimize risk on the roadways. Speed bumps have proven to be effective, whether citizens like it or not. The data has shown it. So thank you.
Thank you,
Merry
Amber.
Christmas.
All right, is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the council? Come on up.
Hello, Jill Watson, 300 Lafayette Boulevard, Oldsmar. Say your name.
My name is Cole.
Cole Watson. So we live on Lafayette. We live in front of a speed bump and the stop sign, and we watch people run the stop sign. We watch people speed and stop at the speed bump and slow down. Going from 79 miles per hour to now the highest speed of 40 miles per hour is a great improvement for my children who play in our front yard and any pedestrian, which is a large amount of them walking through our streets and down our town main way right there. And the speed bumps have been effective. We feel safer with them. I know walking in my town, I feel safer with them. Cole?
I really like the speed bumps.
Yeah, and my other son does too, as we see that it has worked. So we also, not regarding speed bumps, but regarding pollution and trash on our city streets, because we also walk State Street, and we came to mail our Santa letters. We came to see the tree lighting, and there's one trash can in front of the City Hall. There's one trash can on State Street and St. Pete Drive, and then there is trash all over. We found like 30 beer cans in bushes, a turkey carcass. Like, I walking the dogs, like trying to keep them from it. We need trash cans. We need to try to change the public's actions, and we're trying to slow them down in speeding. We also need to give them trash cans to throw away their trash. Maybe if it's not on public land, maybe asking the community, the businesses that own those properties to put out trash cans. I would put one on my house on State Street in Lafayette if that meant we didn't have to pick up the trash in our yard all the time. But I just think that that would be a good way to help get our community cleaner and safer and looking nicer. So I ask that you guys look into some trash cans. And also, we walk along the shore. And especially after storms, one of my kids' favorite thing is to go and look at the debris that washed up. And I've gotten a full trash bag of stuff just walking Veterans Park. So I would love to see some sort of bucket and grabber or something put out there that would encourage people while they're there enjoying the parks to pick up trash, to make their space beautiful. Like, my kids love to do it. I do it when I'm out there. I know that my neighbors would too. So if there was something implemented, a post with a bucket for people to take out, walk along the shore, pick up the trash, and dump it in the trash can in the park, I think for $20, like, you could really improve our shoreline. So, and we love our baseball and soccer programs. Thank you. All right, what else? Was there anything else you wanted to say? No? Say Merry Christmas and thank you.
Merry Christmas and thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Corey. Anyone else like to speak to the council? Come on up.
Darlene Phillips, 655 Timber Bay Circle West. I'm totally against the speed bumps. I have a small car. I literally have to come to a complete stop to go over that. It's ruining my car, and people don't really speed, you know. If they put more stop signs up, do the flashing ones and stuff like that, and I think that would be a better solution, and people getting their cars damaged from it. And the stop signs with the flashing light, I think would be amazing. You could do that on Lafayette, right there in front of the park. You know, you've got that big wide section there, and every place you feel you need to put a stop sign up. Same with on St. Pete Drive, there at the grocery store. Don't put a roundabout there. I work construction. That's a waste of money. Put stop signs like you put them in after the kid got killed. Put 4 more up there. That's what we need to do. Just put stop signs up. I live back there, and I don't feel that people speed. It's a good, safe neighborhood back in there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for coming. Is there anybody else who would like to speak to the council? Come on up. All right, and if anybody wants to speak during item 12, there's going to be plenty of time for everyone to speak. All right, with that, I'm going to close the Oldsmar Citizens Open Forum. The next item on our agenda is the community minute, and that will be read by our city clerk, Kristen Garcia.
Holiday closures at city offices, facilities, and the public library on Monday, December 25th and Tuesday, December 26th in observance of the Christmas holiday. Monday, January 1st in observance of the New Year's holiday. There will be tree recycling from December 26th to January 26th at Ari Olds Park. Bring real Christmas trees to designated areas of the park. Trees will be ground up and used as mulch for city projects.
Already talking about trees.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that update. All right, next item is approval of an additional new agenda item, which is number 5. I need a motion. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is awards and recognition. And we have a special guest in our presence today with State Representative Adam Anderson. Would you like to come up? Corey, you want to come up too? And we have a special presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you, council members. It's an absolute privilege to be here. I'm Adam Anderson. I represent the northern part of Pinellas County. This is my legislative aide, Corey Recklow, who handles all things legislative related in Tallahassee and then works as a liaison too between any appropriations projects that we have here locally in the state. We do have a check to present to the city of Oldsmar, but before I do that, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to show my gratitude and thanks for the great working relationship that my office has with the city. When I first got elected, I made it my first priority to build good working relationships with all of the cities that we represented in the district, and there's a number of them. But I spent time reaching out to the mayors and the council members and the city managers. But I have to say, Oldsmar is the only one that I didn't have to actually make those outbound calls to. And that's because you approached me. I don't even know if I was elected yet when Katie had called me and said, "Hey, can we go grab lunch? I understand your race is looking pretty good." So I guess she wanted to get it on the ground floor, and I appreciate that very much. And it was shortly after Mayor Saraki did the same thing. And I think as time's gone on, we've had great communication with everyone that's here on this dais. So I appreciate that genuinely. One of the most important things that we do in Tallahassee, we work on all kinds of things, right? So a lot of the things we work on are statewide. They affect residents all over the state. But the most important thing that we do is represent our communities. And we do that from a policy standpoint, but also a fiscal standpoint as well. And it's one of my favorite things to do, because when we're working in a city like Oldsmar, we can help shift that tax burden from your residents when you have an important project. That financial fiscal impact doesn't fall just on the residents here. We can spread that burden throughout residents throughout the state. And we don't necessarily always appreciate that, when we lift up the hood of what's really going on, but that's exactly what's happening. So the state is happy to subsidize the right projects in the right areas of the state. And this, fortunately, is one of them. I think it was Felicia had come in for a meeting to discuss this particular project. It was a big number. It was a lot of money for a first project. And when a lot of times people don't necessarily appreciate that there's not the state doesn't have an endless supply of funds, right? We don't have the money tree. We wish we did, but we all have to pay for that. And when we look at something like transportation, like this project, just give you an example, in any given year, there might be, let's say, $500 million of transportation funds that can be allocated throughout the statewide. But there might be $1 billion of transportation funding requests. So less than half of these projects get done. A project like this one moved very quickly to the top of the priority list. And when I started looking into the reasons, the background story of why the city needed these funds and requested the funds, it was an easy decision to go all in with the chairs of the Transportation Department and work with our appropriations chairs in Tallahassee to make sure that it got funded. And I commend everyone here for how quickly you acted, learning the story and the background of how Leah Sorsby, I think it was her name, right? The young girl who was killed in this horrific traffic accident. She was 6 years old, and I can relate to that situation because I myself had a son who was 4 years old when he passed away. And while we can never bring those children back, we can do things to make sure that those tragedies don't happen again in the future. So I think everyone that lives in Oldsmar should be so proud of the work that this council has done, how quickly you've acted to ensure that a tragedy like that won't happen again in Oldsmar. So I thank you, all of you, and on behalf of the residents of Oldsmar, and on behalf of the state of Florida, want to tell you, you are doing a phenomenal job. So I am so happy that I'm here that I can present a check for $1 million to the city of Oldsmar. I would like to invite the mayor down and
I would like the entire council to come down.
the whole council. Let's do
Yes, I
that.
would like, and the city manager, would you like to come down too? Tom, you want to join us?
We're going to sign it right now. Maybe not as good as the governor's, but we'll work on it.
It's good. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. All right, let's get in here, everybody.
1 million. Don't spend it in one place. I guess you have 4 times. Go first.
All right, thank you so much.
You're already filing
Thank you, Corey. Corey, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Next item on our agenda is the presentation of our Council Manager Award for November and December of 2023. And Councilmember Katie Gannon, you have the floor.
I'm quick. I'm already down here. Bam. It's my privilege tonight to recognize and celebrate the remarkable contributions of someone who is a person in our community who I hope people see, as I see, an example of compassion and volunteerism, a wonderful mom and friend. She's incredible. Her name, and she's hiding in the back. Her name is Nicole Williger, and she is a mom, a member of the Women's Club, former member of the Oldsmar Elementary Parent-Teacher Organization, don't forget former Girl Scout troop mom, of course on the Upper Tampa Bay Education Foundation, mother of 3 children, 2 dogs. I think we're 2 dogs now. We have lacrosse, cheerleading, hockey. I think you guys did 4 parties in 18 hours this past weekend. Are you tired yet? Because this woman is absolutely incredible. She's incredible. Nicole's a Floridian by way of New York. Her husband, Corey, and her were married in 2009. Their first home was in Harbor Palms, actually. And they still have that home, but now they live over on Franklin. And their household includes, as I mentioned, Dylan, who is embarrassed that I am announcing he's in 6th grade at Carwise, a talented ice hockey player. There's that smile of a 6th grader. Kendall's in 5th grade at Oldsmar Elementary, a cheerleader, and she's with the Stingray All-Stars and plays lacrosse, as I mentioned. And Kayla in 1st grade at Oldsmar, a cheerleader and plays lacrosse. When I spoke to Nicole about this award, she felt undeserving, and I said everyone who's ever received this award, of course. And I wanted to explain to her why I see her as a community organizer. So community organizer sounds like government speak, right? So a community organizer is someone like Nicole, someone who is magnetic. There's a lot of them in the audience here tonight. And it's the kind of person who can engage people to collectively address issues affecting the community. They build a sense of unity and solidarity for a shared purpose among diverse groups of people who might not otherwise get to know each other or get together for any specific purpose, but for their relationship to that special person. That's Nicole. That's Nicole.
when certain challenges seem insurmountable, Nicole is out there standing as a testament to the transformative power of one individual's unwavering dedication to uplifting those around her. Just recently, she organized, I think it's the 3rd annual Oldsmar Nursing Home Caroling event. She also organized the Oldsmar Women's Club holiday adoption of nursing home residents without family. And we gathered, I believe, gifts for more than 20 people, and then we added more to it. I think it was 30 people. It was unbelievable. Through daily emails, she coordinated all of these women bringing gifts to people with just initials. It was amazing. One of my favorite things that she's done, she organized a tea for the Girl Scout troops held at the Women's Club to teach etiquette. It's just simple things, just such simple things that bring, our community together and families together so that we're kind of parenting as a village, like it was when I was a kid, before, when you came home, the street lights went off, then you came home for dinner. Did you know they donated 40 cases of Girl Scout cookies to, I think, the sheriff's office, nursing homes, and firefighters this past year? A couple weeks back, which inspired this moment, this award, a tornado actually ripped through the downtown area in Oldsmar. I know a lot of people live in the downtown area who are in the audience here tonight. And I knew it had seriously affected the home of a very close friend of ours. And I went over there the morning after to see how she was doing. And it was a disaster. Pieces of her neighbor's roof were wrapped around trees in her yard. It was raining insulation all around us because the roof from the neighbor and the attic insulation was flying through the air. And who shows up with a cup of coffee and a plan? There's Nicole. There's Nicole. And by the next day, she had not only a team of volunteers there cleaning up the entire yard immediately. I don't even think our friend asked. It just happened. And then, of course, everybody was hungry. Well, Nicole knows the folks at Cuban Breezes, so then everybody was fed. And bam, with this magic wand that she has, she turns kindness into done. Just done. When she raises her hand, which Corey will tell you she probably does maybe too much, maybe just a little bit too much. But when she raises her hand, things get done. And, he said that most of these selfless acts she does without anyone ever knowing. Some of them involve collecting lost dogs on the streets of Oldsmar. Some of them may or may not end up in her house. He did tell me a couple stories, Nicole. I won't tell all of them. But he did let me know that she was the student body president in high school. Is that accurate? Okay, we'll leave the high school stories there. But she was also the glue that held her family together. Her grandma was a huge influence on her, and part of the reason she continues to uphold her family values and traditions. The caroling started when her grandmother and grandfather would go to Westchester Gardens over on McMullen Booth. A lot of people know that particular facility. And then they started bringing the kids and neighbors. She doesn't have relatives there. She just goes and sings for these people and brings kids and their sports teams to do that because it moves her. It gives me goosebumps. After going for several years, the nursing home administrators got her phone number and they started sharing it with other nursing homes. Community organizer. They know who to call. They know who to ask for help. And she'll get it done. Whether it's a listening ear, a helping hand, a volunteer for her kids, your kids, my kids, she constantly demonstrated commitment to the well-being for others. It's true in her professional life as well. She's continued to grow in her career at HR Edge Consulting, a local Oldsmar company, 100% woman-owned. In just 3.5 years, she's been promoted to Chief Development Officer. The company founder and CEO, Stephanie Lacey, also an Oldsmar resident, said clients and colleagues ask to work with Nicole. They want to work with her because she's the first to cheerlead the team and forms easy connections with everyone in a field that's entirely relationship-based. Nicole adds to the fabric of our community with compassion for people and creatures, of all walks of life, making them feel valued and supported. Her impact extends beyond the immediate challenges, reaching into the hearts of those she touches and instilling a belief in the power of kindness. I want to recognize Nicole not only for her countless selfless acts, but for the enduring example she shows, where the spirit of generosity and community upliftment prevails, where kindness and support flourishes. May she inspire us to all be a catalyst for positive change in our own way. Congratulations, Nicole, on this well-deserved award and recognition, and thank you for the beautiful moments you've created in the hearts of so many people here in Oldsmar.
Congratulations.
You really can have the microphone.
Oh, gosh, I'm good. Thanks, everybody. I love Oldsmar.
Katie, great job. Thank you so much. So I gotta just share something. When I first moved to Oldsmar in 1995 or 96, Nicole was the bartender at Outback
That's
over on
true.
US 19, and that's where I met her. Paul and I met her. So many years ago.
I'm telling you, everyone knows Nicole.
Yeah, congratulations and to you and your family. Congratulations. All right, next item on our agenda is the consent docket. This will be read by our city clerk, Kristen Garcia.
Item 3, approve minutes of December 5th, 2023 council meeting. Item 4, approve payment to legal counsel for November 2023 legal services. Item 5, approve payment of November 2023 legal services to Bartlett, Loeb, Hens, and Thompson, PLLC, for Eric Seidel's litigation defense. Item 6, approve the purchase and installation of HVAC equipment for Cypress Forest Recreation Center from Train per the pricing, terms, and conditions of Omnia U.S. Communities Contract number 3341. Item 7, approve the purchase and installation of HVAC equipment for the Oldsmar Library from Train per the pricing, terms, and conditions of Omnia U.S. Communities Contract number 3341. Item 8, approve work order number 1 for reverse osmosis water treatment plant post-treatment analysis and emergency standard operating procedures to Ardura Inc., USA Inc. under General Engineering Services Contract 2023-002 RFQ for professional engineering services. Item 9, award 2023 014 ITB Citywide Janitorial Services to Net Facility Services LLC.
Thank you very much. Does anybody wish to pull any items from the consent docket? Then I will entertain a motion, please.
Moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this item? With that, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is item 10, which is a public hearing, which will be taken care of by our city attorney, Tom Trask.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, rezoning certain real property located at 505 St. Petersburg Drive West, parcel number 232816 63936-041-0020, from R3 Residential 2 and 3 Family District to R2 Residential Single Family, and providing for the effective date. That was the second and final reading of ordinance 2023-06 by title only. The quasi-judicial hearing was held at the last meeting that we had on this, so this is just going to be a public hearing. So we could open it up to the public at this point
Okay.
for discussion.
Thank you. I'm going to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this item? Anyone? With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. So then I'm going to need a motion to approve.
So moved?
Mayor, prior to the motion, I
Oh,
believe I
yes.
still need to disclose my conflict of interest as it relates to this matter. I haven't filed my form yet this time around for the second hearing, but I will get that to the clerk in the morning. But my conflict of interest is I have a parcel that is in close proximity to the subject parcel for this agenda item. And given that the size of the affected parties is small, it was the city attorney's advice to state that conflict of interest as it relates to this matter. So I will not be voting.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a motion from Councilmember Gann. I need a second.
Second.
Any other discussion on this item? With that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
No, roll call.
Oh, roll call. Yep, thank you.
Councilmember Graber,
Yes.
Councilmember Buckman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Knapp,
Abstain.
Councilmember Gannon,
Yes.
Mayor Saraki.
Yes. Thank you very much. Next item is item 11, presentation, and that'll be taken care of by our city manager, Alicia Donnelly.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 11 is a presentation of the water supply plan. Daniel Simpson, please approach Director of Public Works.
Good evening. With me today, we have Jonna Jan, who's our utility administrator and assistant director, and our interim chief operator, Amanda Finley Harris. I just wanted to recognize our reverse osmosis team that really did a lot of work to provide the data for this analysis. And I want to introduce Lok Chung and Vivian Hong. They're with Ardura Inc., and they're part of our general engineering consultants. So, do you want this mic?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Vivian Hong. I'm the project manager with Ardura. Here with me is Lok Chong. He is our Florida Water Practice Director. We are the engineering firm that help.
Can you speak into the mic?
No, I think the mic got turned off.
It's not on.
Oh.
The light.
There you go. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, so we are the engineering firm Ardura that help the city of Oldsmar with the water supply plan. Oh, sorry. So first, I would like to go over today's agenda. I will first introduce the objective of the water supply plan, and then I will talk about the four major components that make up the city of Oldsmar's water system. And then I will discuss a little bit about the evaluation methods that we used for this project. And then I will go into details to talk about the existing challenges and the recommended improvements for each of the four major components. And lastly, we'll summarize all the capital improvement projects that we recommend and the costs that are associated with it. So first, the objective. In this project, Ardura evaluated the current conditions and the challenges of the water system. And based on our analysis, we developed a 10-year and a 20-year capital improvement plans. The goal is to help the city better prepare for the upgrades that are needed, and also to help city better allocate its resources to help fund these projects in the future. So what are the four major components that make up the city's water system? In the city of Oldsmar, the main water source comes from groundwater, and the city owns and operates 11 raw water production wells. And then the groundwater that's withdrew from the wells is then sent through the raw water distribution system, which consists of 2 miles length of pipelines. And then the raw water is sent to the reverse osmosis water treatment plant for processing. And the treatment capacity is 2 million gallons per day on an annual average basis. So once the water is treated, and then it's sent through the water distribution system that consists of 88 miles of piping to distribute to customers. So these are the four major components that make up Oldsmar's water system. And we're gonna go into more details later on. So here listed are some of the evaluation methods that we used for this project. The first thing we did was to do a 20-year population projection, because we wanted to understand how much water the city will need in 10 years and how much water the city will need in 20 years, based on the growth and the demand in the region. We also performed fire hydrant tests to collect real-time flow and pressure data to be used in the hydraulic modeling for the potable water distribution system. And we also conducted hydraulic modeling on the raw water distribution system as well. So here on this table, you're seeing is the comparison between the permitted capacities and the projected demands. Okay. For both the production wells and the RO water treatment plant. So if you're looking at the values, you can see based on the projections, the existing infrastructures, at least for the production wells and the RO water treatment plant, they should have enough capacity to meet future demand all the way through 2042. However, there are challenges associated with the existing system that's preventing the city from actually meeting the projected demands. So what are these challenges and what type of improvement plans we have? That will be the focus of this portion of the presentation. So first, the first major component that we have is the raw water well field. The city has 11 wells, and it was first put into construction, it was first constructed and put into service back in 2012. And however, since then, the water quality in the wells has gone down. We're seeing now increasing levels of salinity and also total solids, total dissolved solids in the groundwater. And because of the poor water quality, it's leading to restricted production in 3 out of the 11 wells. And so overall, the well field right now is experiencing limited operational flexibility, and it's also experiencing limited rotational ability. And how to address these challenges? Here are the 2 projects that we propose for improvements. The first one is to rehabilitate the existing wells. And the benefit of that is to improve the water quality and also to increase production rate. So we're recommending backplugging 2 wells and acidizing 6 wells. So what backplugging does is that it would help the deeper wells, it will help make the deeper wells shallower, because based on our geological studies in these 2 specific well locations, the shallower aquifer zone actually has better water quality. So making it shallower is going to help. Acidizing, on the other hand, is a very common well maintenance method, and it's widely used across different industries. And what it does is to clear out some of the sediments and the grains that are building up inside the wells. And so with that, we should be seeing increased productivity level. And the second project that we're proposing is to install new wells. We're proposing installing 3 new production wells and 2 new monitoring wells. And the benefit of that is to offer the well field operational flexibility and also system redundancy. So here on this map, this is a well location map that's showing the existing wells and the proposed wells. So as you can see, the green dots are representing the existing wells. And then we have the blue and the red dots, and those are representing the 3 new production wells that we're proposing. So the existing wells are mainly constructed along Forest Lake Boulevard, and for the proposed wells, we are recommending them to be installed along Pine Avenue. And the blue and the red dots, they're just representing the wells will be drilled to a different aquifer zone. So the blue ones will be drilled to a shallower zone, and the red dot will be drilled to a deeper zone. And also per the Florida DEP requirement, every time you install new production wells, you will also require to install monitoring wells. So for that reason, we are proposing the yellow dots. These are the locations for the new monitoring wells. Next, we have the raw water distribution system, and this is our second major component in the water system. Based on our hydraulic modeling, the results that we found is suggesting that the raw water distribution system is sufficient to meet our current operation. However, if we are installing new production wells, then we will also be needing to extend the raw water distribution system. So with that, we're proposing to install approximately 3,200 linear feet of 8 to 12 inches of pipelines. And the benefit and the purpose of that is to connect the wells to the existing raw water distribution network. So this map is a little small, but you can see on Pine Avenue, those were the 3 proposed wells locations, and then the purple dotted lines represents the new water distribution mains that we will be connecting between the wells and the existing distribution network. And the different colors in the existing raw water distribution network is just representing that the different pipe sizes. So all the groundwater that's collected from the wells will send through the raw water distribution system and eventually reach the gray circled area, and that's the reverse osmosis water treatment plant for processing. So next, I will hand it over to Locke, and then he's gonna go over the other 2 major system components in the water system.
Thanks, Vivian. Again, my name's Locke Trong. There we go. Okay. The next major component in the system, like Vivian said, is the RO water treatment plant itself. So from an operational perspective, as she mentioned before, the permitted capacity meets the water demand through 2042. We did notice in our evaluation that currently the operational hours have been increased in 2023 up to 19 hours, whereas in 2022 the city was operating 16 hours a day. Based on our projections, we are recommending to adopt in the future, to adopt a 20-hour per day operation when the demand gets close to approximately 1.67 million gallons per day. And that's just to increase the production rate at the RO facility itself. Can we go back? Okay, sorry. The benefits there is this is going to allow the city to meet the water demand through the year 2042. It does not require any modification or improvement to the process itself or require a plant expansion. And then lastly, it does not require the city to add any additional staffing or hiring, only an adjustment in the schedule itself. Okay, next. From the RO treatment plant, there is a deficiency in the chemical feed system. So there is some lack of flexibility in the chemical treatment process. Specifically, it's the carbon dioxide system and the orthophosphate system. So what we are proposing is the project is to improve the carbon dioxide and orthophosphate system, which consists of installing 1 backup carbon dioxide storage tank and 1 skid pumping panel. We're also proposing to install a backup pump for the orthophosphate injection system. And the benefit there is it's going to, again, provide operational flexibility for the treatment plant and add system redundancy. The next item as regards to the treatment plant itself is regarding the import of water during an emergency. So currently the city relies on imported water from Pinellas County if there is an emergency. The one thing to note though is water from Pinellas County is chloraminated water, whereas city water is chlorinated water. What that means is they are not compatible to mix directly. So anytime the city would have to import Pinellas County water, it requires the city to flush the entire water distribution system. So that means that the city does not have any blending capability at this time. And of course, flushing is costly and wasteful. So what we are proposing is an emergency disinfection treatment improvement, and that includes installing a new sodium hypochlorite injection system, installing a tank mixer inside the ground storage tank located at the water treatment facility, and then also install new monitoring analyzers to monitor the disinfection process. And the benefit there is, I can go back. This will allow the city to treat Pinellas County water to match the disinfection that the city utilizes. Again, it's going to increase that operational flexibility, and there's going to be a cost savings instead of, during an emergency situation, to purchase, solely relying on purchase 100% of Pinellas County water, and there would be no flushing that's required. Okay, the next, the fourth major component in the city's water supply system is the water distribution itself. It's currently sufficient to meet the demands through 2042. However, we do see that in 2032, the minimum level of service, which we define as having at least 1,000 gallon per minute of fire flow at 20 psi during the max day condition. So there are pockets of the distribution system that do not meet this minimum level of service. So the improvement that is being proposed is to upsize 2,000 linear feet of 6-inch water main to 12-inch water main, and we'll show a map of where that's located here in a second. And then also upsizing approximately 1,000 linear feet of 8-inch water main to 10-inch water main. We're also proposing to complete that and place into service by 2032, and this is going to allow us to meet the minimum level of service all the way through 2042. Okay, this map here, again, it's hard to see the areas, but if all the blue piping you see on the map is the existing distribution system, you will notice two areas to the northwest and the southeast, which is on the outskirts of, or not on the outskirts, but the far ends of the city's distribution system. And those are the two locations where we are recommending to upsize the existing water main to a larger size in order to increase that system pressure to meet that minimum level of service. And just to summarize the short-term and long-term capital improvement costs, you can see there, Vivian talked about the raw water well rehabilitation, the chemical feed system upgrades, the Pinellas County emergency blending system upgrades, the water main improvements. Those are being recommended to be completed in the short term, meaning within the next 10 years. The new raw water wells and the raw water distribution main piping, that is being proposed in the long term, so that is beginning 2032 through 2042. Our estimated costs are shown to be the short term is a total of $5 million and the long term to be $3.2 million. And those are in today's value in 2023 dollars. And with that, we will take any questions.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I learned so much. Any questions? Andrew, Vice Mayor? No?
No questions. I mean, this is my kind of stuff.
So I have a quick question, and then anybody come. So, I'm sorry, Vivian, you mentioned, you said you're starting to see solid. Is that like sand you're seeing when you said you were starting to see solids coming out of the pipes?
So we're talking about in the groundwater quality, and it's the total dissolved solids. So they're they're really tiny, tiny solids that you don't actually see. But and right now that is getting taken care of by the water treatment plant. However, if the level is too high, and then we have to restrict the production out of the wells because it would put too much burden on the water treatment plant itself. So that's why, as of now, 3 out of the 11 wells are not frequently used due to that reason.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. It's kind of funny. I remember when we opened that plant in 2012, and you take for granted, you turn your shower on, you have beautiful, clean water, and it's a great presentation. I personally learned so much about our city, and I really appreciate it. Any other questions? Councilmember Gannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I was curious what numbers you used for the population projection model, the population growth model.
Yeah, so for the population projection, we actually did 5 different alternatives.
Oh, okay.
Because there are different combinations that we use. So the final version that we picked was based on HB 53, which is the House Bill 53. So there they have a population projection that's listed for every city, county, and so on. So that's the population that we based on. And then we made the assumption of 100 gallons per day per person.
Per person.
So that was what we used. And then we also looked at the development area, the potential growth in the area. So that was also taken into consideration. So after comparing 5 different models and discuss with the utility members, it was decided that the one that we picked was most realistic.
Okay. And then the 2 wells that you mentioned making more shallow, other than those 2, are existing 11 wells in any danger of, infiltrates from outside sources? I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I know, you see on the news, Busch Gardens has a hole and it's getting into the groundwater next to, the Congo River Rapids ride. When we talk about water supply plans, I think our residents want to know, is our water safe? And a lot of people don't know we have wells around the city.
Yeah. The short answer is yes, the water is safe. So, I'm sorry, the question was,
Just, are the existing 11 wells that we have?
Yeah.
Are we seeing any infiltration from
Okay.
any other sources? I understand the total dissolved
Yeah.
solids and that kind of thing could be just naturally happening
Yeah.
in geology. But other than that,
So we did conduct a quite detailed geological studies in the regions, in the aquifers, and the 11 well, their locations. So based on the studies, we are seeing increasing levels of salinity, but some wells are more than the others. But overall, I think the other 8 wells are operating fine. It's just the 3 that's having limited production rate right now due to the poor quality.
okay, good to know. Thank you.
I do have.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Okay. John is coming up first.
Jonna Jan, I'm the Assistant Public Works Director. I just wanted to add that we do rigorous testing all the time. So we do monthly testing, and we also do an annual environmental monitoring report that goes to SwiftBud for review every year. And they use some of that data
Oh, good.
in their
good.
review, so, okay, does that?
Thank you, Jonna.
Okay.
Vice Mayor?
Now I got a couple.
Are you going to geek out on us?
Not too bad. As far as you mentioned, you've got your 2 different types of wells, the distribution and the monitoring wells. But then you're saying within the production wells, you have the ability to basically detect reduced capacity or reduced availability or good quality water. So is there monitoring instrumentation at each of those wells, even though they're considered production wells? And that's how those calls are made?
The production, well, I think most of the, well, if I can go back. Oh, sorry. The production wells are in the general vicinities of, the monitoring wells are in the general vicinities of the production wells. And they're specifically located to monitor, to pull water out of the production
Like
well.
Jonna was just saying.
Yeah.
To check and do
To
those
check.
testings.
Yeah, so you don't
Okay.
necessarily test your production well
Okay.
very often. Occasionally you will, maybe when you take it down for maintenance, because it's constantly operating. So you won't take it offline just for testing reasons. And that's why the monitoring wells are there for that purpose.
Okay. And then the other question I had is, I know you mentioned for the two proposed different activities to be conducted with the existing wells between the back plugging and the acidizing. What, if any, environmental risks are there for conducting those? I know they're done, but what risks are there when those activities are conducted?
Maybe not seeing good results after conducting those tests.
So not
that
as
could be
impactful as what it would.
Yeah,
hope
not
to
as impactful.
improve.
That's why we are, in addition to these, rehabilitation projects, we are also proposing having new wells, because with the additional wells, that would really give you the flexibility that the city needs.
Okay, but as far as whatever the actual, like, call it acidizing, right? Like, as far as
Yeah.
impacts to the aquifer itself, is there little risk, no risk in those actual projects being done?
It's no risk. It's really diluted acid
coming
that's
back.
used. She's coming back.
Sorry. I'll just add that we regularly or periodically acidize the ASR well. So
Oh.
that's
That's
our
something that's
reclaimed
ongoing.
water, but it's the same process, and it really just opens the pores, is sort of how we refer to it in the aquifer. It opens things up so you get more production from those wells. So there's not really a risk, it just allows more production, sort of cleans things up, so there's more flow.
Understood.
Science.
Thank you.
All right.
Just to add one more thing, as part of the CIP plan, the rehabilitation, the acidification, and the back plugging is proposed to be done first in order to see if we can gain more productivity from those wells.
I
And
gotcha.
then if that does not actually resolve it, then, the installation of new wells is proposed, and that's why that's
Further out.
proposed further on down the line, 10 years and above.
Nice.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Just based on what the vice mayor had said, because I was thinking the same thing. And John, this may be for you. What is acidizing? Like, how does the whole thing work? Because I think where you were coming from, I would never speak for you, but is the acid mixed into the water, and does that somehow get into the water system, and how is it filtered? And I know you're looking at me and laughing, and that's fine.
No.
I don't know what it means.
No
But when
judgment.
I hear acid in the water, I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe we could change the
It's
the
a very
terminology.
dilute acid.
Okay.
And so they pump it down into the well, and then they flush it extensively to
Okay.
make sure that that's all clear. And then there's testing done before it's put back into operation.
Okay.
So, I mean, we haven't done it on a production well yet, but it's the same process.
It'd be the same thing? Yeah, okay.
And I would also like to add that after the groundwater is drawn from the wells, it will send to the water treatment plant for processing. So if there's anything, it
Yeah,
will
that's
be
true.
treated
Sure.
there. And then so whatever water that's sending out to the distribution system is going to be safe.
That makes sense. Thank you both. That was it, Mayor.
Councilmember, anything? No?
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you so much. Great job. Do we want to let? Yeah, you know what? If you want to have a question, come on up. Yes, please. Statement.
Yeah, I'd like to ask if any consideration's been given to the borrow pits, which, say about 10 years ago, they're up in the nature area there, and you're not near homes and runoff from cars and all that stuff. And it's also in that area is other localities with their wells up in that area, but in these borrow pits, they're like 40 feet deep, and Oldsmar at one time used that to get down, say, 40 feet deep. And there's two of them, and they're, who knows how many gallons. You could look on the Google Earth and see them. they're to the east of the power lines. You remember going on a tour up there a while back.
Yep, you were there.
And you probably saw how clear that water was, and you'd have minnows swimming in there, and it's the cleanest water I've ever seen down here in all of Florida. But other than that, I'd ask that you at least use CPVC pipe for water lines in the future here. It's sort of immune to chlorine, and it's just a thing to consider these options.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Suda, did you want to say something? No? Oh, okay. All right, that's it. All right, we're good. Thank you so much for that great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is item 12.
Item number 12, Mayor, is a presentation of traffic calming efforts on Shore Drive and Lafayette Boulevard and in consideration of the future efforts. I'd like to invite Daniel Simpson to the podium.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Simpson, Director of Public Works. For everyone in the room that was at the November meeting, I apologize because much of this will be redundant, and you've heard it. I'm sorry. You have in your packet a outline of the meeting we had. So I'm going to be more brief in our explanation and move through it faster than we did because a lot of the data is in front of you. So this is about traffic calming on Shore Drive and Lafayette Boulevard. Okay. So the goals of this presentation are to communicate the decision-making process for traffic calming on Shore Drive and Lafayette, and explain the results of our trial study and the survey, and summarize our public feedback, and explain our next steps. So how do we get here? In March 2022, we know a child passed not on one of these roads. It was over on St. Pete Drive. And that really informed some of the council priorities we have. But one of them was to enhance roadway safety for all modalities, including safe routes to school. Additionally, we have a priority to expand community engagement. Council adopted Resolution 2022-09 to support Vision Zero. Vision Zero is about safe, healthy, and equitable mobility. And we did this in partnership with Fort Pinellas. And the goal is to eliminate all fatalities on roadways. Okay, so next I'm going to speak on what a traffic engineer is. So the traffic engineering profession, what is a traffic engineer? It's a professional who specializes in planning, designing, and managing transportation systems. The primary goal is to optimize traffic flow, reduce congestion, enhance safety, and improve overall transportation efficiency. The qualifications are a civil engineering degree. You must pass a fundamental of engineering exam, have 4 years of training under a licensed professional engineer, pass a professional engineering licensing exam, and have training and experience related to roadway design. Next, the state authorities. So consistent with Florida state law, the placement of traffic calming devices and markings shall be completed under the direction of a licensed professional engineer. In Oldsmar, the city engineer is the professional engineer who has the decision-making responsibility and authority to reasonably ensure the safety and efficiency of the city's roadway network, which I failed to introduce our city engineers here. Jesus Sanchez, he's here with me. And then the technical review committee reviews and vets traffic engineering decisions. Okay, so the federal guidance is the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUTCD. This provides a set of standards and guidelines for the design and use of traffic control devices on public roads. And the MUTCD serves as federal standards for traffic control devices, and it provides uniformity and consistency. This is why you can go drive in another state and know the traffic laws, because they're all the same every state. But furthermore, in the state of Florida, there's a Florida Green Book, which is the Manual of Uniform Minimum Standard for Design, Construction, and Maintenance of Streets and Highways. This is governed by Florida statute, and this takes national standards and provides greater details and higher standards. And if we don't comply with this, it can result in liability and loss of funding for transportation projects. So one of the things that we get is why don't you raise or lower speed limits in different areas? So how are speed limits decided? So the first question is, why do we drive the speed we drive? Okay, so there are people who drive as fast as they possibly can go, and if they could stop, it would make my life a lot easier. And then there's those who go very, they're very conscientious and are going to go under a speed limit. But most people, if you were to imagine how fast you would drive if there was no speed limit at all, how fast would you drive on a road? That is actually the speed that most people typically drive. And they do it based on how the road feels. And so we make subconscious decisions while we're driving that, based on how wide the lanes are, how well you can see, are there obstructions, is there a lot of pedestrian traffic, and is there a shoulder? These things make you drive the speed you drive. Speed limits are not intended to regulate reasonable drivers, but rather to restrain drivers who are unsafe. And the 85th percentile speed is usually used as the speed that a speed limit should be set at. If you don't remember percentiles, 85 people would be going that speed or less, and 15% would be going over that speed. Lower speed limits are not effective at slowing speeds. You must change the physical dynamics of the road. Okay, next slide is the impact of speed. As you can imagine, getting hit by a car at 20 miles an hour is much better than getting hit at 40 miles an hour. But there's a 5% chance of fatality at 20 miles an hour and an 85% chance at 40, or likelihood of fatality. Okay, so this is the overall process we walk through. We received a complaint, and then that triggered an initial data analysis to see if we have a speeding problem. Then the problem was confirmed. We proposed a technical solution. We tested the solution and received feedback from the community, and we're in the final analysis. And then alternatives, the next two stages can go back and it will be somewhat iterative. So we're in our final analysis, but that doesn't mean it's over. It's just where we're at right now. Okay, so the pre-existing conditions on the roadways. So we received some speeding complaints, and we take every complaint seriously and when we get speeding complaints, we tend to schedule a speed study. All right. The city engineer generally does not recommend traffic calming unless the 85th percentile speed is 5 miles per hour above posted speed on a local street and 8 miles an hour above posted speed for a collector street. The city receives speeding complaints on Shore Drive and Lafayette Boulevard. So we conducted speed study. So our first speed study, the data, we generally put these out for a week or two. And what we found was the fastest speeds were 69, 79, and 75. But the 85th percentile speed of 34.1, 34.7, 29.7. And the average speeds of 30 and 25. And the percent of enforceable violations, which that's people that are going at a speed that you could get a ticket, which is 5 miles above the speed limit, was 45, 49, and 15. So approaching half of the people on two of the streets were eligible for tickets. So what we did next is we requested directed patrol by our Pinellas County Sheriff. And it resulted in 38 citations and 64 warnings. And enforcement can have an effect on speeding. But it's generally you need to enforce heavily. All right, so then we did a follow-up speed study. So we thought, well, we put out the police and let's see if that affects the speeding. So we did a follow-up on Shore Drive to see if we had any decrease in speeding. And in fact, we confirmed the same results that we had before. Okay, so now we're moving to the solution phase. So what is traffic calming? Traffic calming is a set of strategies and measures employed in urban and residential areas to slow down traffic, improve safety, and create a more livable and pedestrian-friendly environment. The primary goal is to reduce speed and volume of vehicles in addition to enhance safety, promote a sense of community, and make neighborhoods more accessible and pleasant for residents and non-motorized road users. Some examples of traffic calming. A roundabout, raised intersection, street parking. We have speed cushions, median island, and bulb outs. So what happened next is the technical review committee, which meets monthly to discuss different site plans and different technical things going on in the city, which is made up of the Parks and Recreation Director, Fire Chief, Planning and Redevelopment Director, Principal Planner, City Engineer, and Public Works Director. So they reviewed, we discussed this, and we brought the item, we being technical services, brought the item for review. So the decision was made to install traffic calming for a trial period on both streets. Okay, so we recommended speed cushions because it would minimize of the different options, it would minimize the impacts on fire trucks because they can straddle the speed cushion. It was the most economical traffic calming device of the ones we looked at. It's considered temporary and relatively easy to install and remove if necessary. So the placement of the speed cushions. Okay, so according to Federal Highway Administration, speed cushions are recommended to be placed approximately 200 feet from an intersection and then spaced evenly apart throughout the remainder of the section with a spacing between 260 and 600 feet. And according to FHWA, the recommended trial period should be between 2 and 6 months. And it's important to note that the trial period is based on the installation date to this date of the speed study. Okay, so then solutions after we installed them. So on the second row, or the third row, the gray, shows the follow-up speed study. So the fastest speed was 49, the slowest speed was 1. Average speed 25. We had 9 enforceable violations. So we had a decrease of 81% in our enforceable violations. And on Lafayette Boulevard, on the northbound side, there was a 100% decrease in enforceable violations and a 13% on the southbound. Okay, so then we got into some community feedback. So staff wanted to gather feedback from residents residing on specific streets, namely Shore Drive East, Lafayette Boulevard, and other neighboring streets near the speed cushions. We sent 579 letters to those residents asking to fill out the traffic calming survey. These letters were sent to the same individuals who previously received a letter in May regarding the installation of speed cushions. We received a total of 223 responses, of which 192 resided in the study area, and those outside were not included in the results. We also acknowledge and recognize that there are some grammatical errors and some unclear questions in the survey. This is a map showing where people provided responses to the survey. So it was a pretty good group. I have, all of the questions are in your packet for transparency, but I wanted to hone in on some of the more, I think, meaningful questions. Some of them we did not get meaningful responses because they were not, they were a little confusing. So for question 7, have you experienced any negative effects from the speed cushions? For the overall respondents, 80.2% said yes, 19.8% said no. For those that live on Shore Drive East, 78% said yes, 21.6% said no. And on Lafayette, 35.7% said yes, 64.3% said no. For question 9, would you like the city to explore other options to slow traffic along Shore Drive East? Overall respondents, 49.2% yes, 50.8% no. And the respondents who live on Shore Drive East, 55.1% said yes and 44.9% no. So this question, which is probably the most unpopular, would you rather have traffic calming or speed limit raised on Shore Drive East? Many people don't like the question because it feels like a false dichotomy. Like, why can't you just not have traffic calming and keep the speed limit the same? And the question, though, I'm trying to get to is, this is the fundamental question, because the speed limit people drive is, like, the speed limit is more of a effect, not a, like, it's, we drive the speed we drive based on the road, not what the sign says, okay? Like, so this is just a question trying to get really fundamentally, would you rather have traffic calming or would you rather go faster? And 55.9% would rather have a raised speed limit than traffic calming. On Shore Drive, there was 58.8% preferred traffic calming, 41.2% the speed limit raised. And on Lafayette Boulevard, 30.4% wanted traffic calming, 69.6% the speed limit raised, while the people on Lafayette, 92.3% wanted traffic calming, 7.7% the speed limit raised. So the next few slides have some of the comments that came in with the questions. So for the negative effects, respondents said that the speed cushions have caused damage to their vehicles. Speed bumps are too tall or too high. It creates stop and go traffic. There's too many speed cushions. The people are increasing the speed after the speed cushions. Speed cushions need to be smoother. People are still speeding. For question 8, make them softer, smoother, smaller. Remove them, all of them. Remove some of them. Additional sheriff deputy. Raise the intersections. They're too close together. Raise the speed limit to 30. Some of the overall comments: increase police patrol. The speed cushions need to be smoother. Put stop signs at intersections. Remove the speed cushions. The speed cushions are too close together. People will drive faster if the speed limit is changed. Okay, so a petition was received and it was sent to each of you. It was, and I wanted to apologize to anyone who signed the petition. I misrepresented it in the report, so I want to just correct that. It was not intentional. It was a complete mistake. So on November 17th, we received a petition, and there were 147 unique names. We had one person that signed it twice, and it represented 109 residences. We haven't done any activity of verifying, but we received 147 unique names, 109 residences that requesting immediate removal of the traffic calming measures. All right, the next steps. So this is analysis of the study and feedback. This is my our interpretation of what we have, what we've heard. traffic calming was effective at slowing traffic adjacent to installations. I think that's pretty undisputed. But the reduced speeds come at significant inconvenience to many residents, and some believe it causes other safety issues. The majority of those in the study area would be supportive of the removal of the speed cushions. Those that live on Shore Drive had a slight majority that supported removal, and those living on Lafayette Boulevard were not as supportive of removal. But it should be noted that the responses were not as pronounced on Lafayette as other areas. So the next steps overall. City staff selected a process that attempted to balance the priorities of City Council, the professional engineering judgment of the city engineer and myself, and public sentiment. And city staff will continue to investigate all traffic safety complaints and make sound engineering decisions. And I recommend a deliberate and methodical approach to our next steps. Decisions should be made not just based on public sentiment, but rather a plan that is evaluated through each step. And these steps take time, and the evaluation may not be as quick as some desire. Okay, so the next step for Shore Drive East. First, staff removed the speed cushions on Shore Drive East. The reasons for this were for traffic calming to really have a meaningful impact on Shore Drive East, it would need to be extended throughout the roadway. And Shore Drive East is the only route for all types of emergency vehicles. And we had clear negative resident impact. Clear resident negative feedback. So the next step would be in coming months to have enhanced law enforcement to be directed to issue citations for speeding. And then in the future, a follow-up speed study should be considered to determine the proper speed limit posting. The data currently supports a higher speed limit. Unfortunately, golf carts are only allowed on roadways with 25 miles an hour. Postings are lower. And then fourth, the city staff will provide cost estimates for unfunded transportation projects for consideration in the fiscal year 24-25 budget process. And that the reasons for this is the opportunity to review along with other capital, it's for council to review along with other capital improvement projects and priorities. And the budget process provides for significant public input. Okay, next steps for Lafayette Boulevard. Traffic calming should remain in place for the near future while other studies are completed. The existing traffic calming is centered on the entrance to Bicentennial Park. And pending tonight City Council approval, the city is initiating the Safe Streets for All study in partnership with Ford Pinellas. Next, a simple survey should be sent to all Lafayette Boulevard residents in the spring of 2024. And adjacent property owners generally were in favor of traffic calming, but the responses were not, we didn't have enough to know one way or the other. So it would be good to get a clear understanding of those adjacent property owners. After reviewing the survey and the Safe Streets for All study, staff will communicate and propose changes or recommended projects for budgeting. All right, and that's all I have. I don't know what you want the next step to be.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So I'm going to open up the public comment before we do anything. Does anybody wish to speak on this? Please come up. You get 5 minutes. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Richard Mano. I reside at 651 Timber Bay Circle West in Oldsmar. I'd like to say one or two things. First of all, the gentleman had a very tough time the other night. I would want him representing me in anything that had to be done. He kept his cool with I wouldn't say hostile audience, but an audience that was definitely not in favor of it. And it was a magnificent performance. As to the precise issue, Shore Drive, the speed limit is just too slow. Per the figure that was thrown out, you set the speed limit at where 85% of the people are at or less, 35 miles an hour, and it's at 25. My memory is not good. I'm not certain if it used to be 30 and they dropped it to 25, or if I'm incorrect on that. But in any event, you could raise it to 30, ticket at 36, and that would give most people where you want to be. I wouldn't want to see anybody down there at 45 miles an hour. I don't think anybody would, but 35 is a reasonable speed on that road. The sidewalks are set aside. People do not park right next to the road, so you can see if there's a child in the area. The houses are relatively large houses. They're not starter homes with a lot of kids running around. The houses are far back, so cars parked in the driveway are, again, far removed from the road. You have good visibility going down the whole road. It's different with some other places, but in this particular place, you have the road, the width and the vision to be careful. All right, I think that's basically what I want to say. The problem is the speed limit is too low. If you were to put a speed limit of 25 miles an hour on an interstate and had houses there, the people who lived right there would want to see that speed limit kept. But anybody coming from down here or up here, they're all inconvenienced by it. Everybody wants the speed limit low next to their house, and understandably, but in point of fact, you're inconveniencing everybody else by doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this? Yep, sir, come on up. State your name and address, please.
Sure. My name is Gary Johnson. I live at 9 Sunny Point Court. I've been in this community for 25 plus years. So I'm here to speak on the speed cushions installed on Shore Drive in Lafayette, which some have been removed. And first of all, let's call these devices not cushions, as the city calls them. They're damaging, disruptive, and unsafe devices in many ways. So to avoid these devices, golf carts and people on bicycles drive in the middle of the road, creating a possible head-on collision and or causing an oncoming traffic to change direction abruptly to avoid them, putting other people and animals on the side of the road at risk, creating a very dangerous and unsafe condition. They interfere with response time of emergency vehicles such as ambulances, fire truck, and police. Each speed bump costs emergency vehicles 10 seconds in response time. In some cases, there could be a difference between life and death. There are still 8 on Lafayette Boulevard. That's 40 seconds. That could be the difference in someone's life, and 80 seconds if the person is transported. I'm an engineer, and I personally have measured the distance between the tires of both the ambulance and the Oldsmar fire trucks, and their design makes it impossible for any of these vehicles to straddle the chosen devices, which the TRC told us that they do. These vehicles have to slow over the devices while en route to someone's emergency. The effects, not just the people on Lafayette Boulevard, this affects all of us. These devices on Lafayette Boulevard are now causing traffic to divert to other roads to avoid them. They cause increased fuel consumption and reduce our property values. In 2008, Hillsborough County made the same mistake by installing many of these antiquated speed humps all over Carrollwood. The county wasted millions of dollars and angered hundreds of residents in a misguided effort. In the end, they were removed. And you can see that this is the same path we are heading down right now, and the recent study shows the same results, proving the solutions are not acceptable. Many of us Oldsmar residents I spoke to with this felt the survey and the TRC meeting was biased. For example, in the survey, the question was, what changes would you like to see made to the speed cushions? The choices were given, modified in some way, remain the same, I'm not sure. Where was the choice for removal? Furthermore, during the TRC meeting, the residents there were under the impression that we could express our opinion, but upon arrival, we were told we could only submit a question in writing, which did not allow us to participate in speaking. This, of course, upset all of us, especially since we were not allowed to speak, while others were there and threatened to be taken out by police just for trying to exercise our First Amendment right of freedom of speech. This is the reason why we don't get the participation from the residents, because it becomes more of a dog and pony show versus a real interest to hear back from the residents of this community that are affected by these changes. Thank God, the overwhelming complaints at this meeting, they finally changed their mind to allow us to voice our position. In the meeting, many questions were asked to the TRC, including, how many people making this decision live and drive on Shore Drive in Lafayette? The response was, none. How many complaints did the city receive on each street? The response, not available. We, the people, have never received any information or documentation that shows that there is a need for any of these speed humps. To us, this seems more like a solution that is looking for a problem. How are you improving safety if there's never been a serious accident involving speed? Response, slowing speed is a move towards safety. So now you want us to go 15 miles an hour instead of 25? Why didn't you consult the residents who live here before installing these devices? Response, the city council is responsible for this. A petition with the 148 names and signatures shows the overwhelming sentiment of these devices. It was given to the Director of Public Works, Daniel Simpson, with
Gary?
a copy sent to the council members and the mayor requesting the removal along Shore Drive in Lafayette. The humps along Shore Drive have been removed, but the ones on Lafayette remain, and they affect not just the residents of Lafayette, as other people have said, they affect all of us. As a matter of fact, some of the residents on Lafayette don't even have to drive through them, and some of them have to drive only through one or two of them. It's the rest of us who have to drive through all 8 of them several times a day who are affected by it.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
So before we go any further, I just want to make a statement, please. We're all here working together. We're here for you to speak your voice to the council so we can hear what you have to say. But let's be all courteous to each other, okay? Would you like to come up next, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Melissa Stickler, 4 Sunny Point Terrace. I want to echo what Gary said about, it feels like we're trying to provide a solution to a problem. We haven't clearly identified the problem. We all care about safety, and we all care about our children. I've lived over 30 years and raised 2 children. I wouldn't let my kids ride their bikes on Shore Drive, all right? It's not a safe street to do that on. It wasn't 30 years ago, it wasn't 21 years ago, it's not today. First, let's talk about the problem. We all want safety, we all want the children to be safe. A few complaints were made. Again, we'd like to hear more about those complaints. The speed bumps were installed, the survey was done. I want to clear one thing up. The survey wasn't confusing. That's almost offensive. It was very clear, but it railroaded you into certain answers. So just from a public sentiment perspective, we're not confused. We understood the survey. We couldn't respond the way that we wanted. Second, a lot of the things we presented here and we talked about in that last meeting, it wasn't just sentiment, because I know 3 different words were used to describe our feedback. One was feedback, that's good. One was input, that's good. The other was sentiment. A lot of things we presented aren't sentiment. That implies an emotional response. They're facts. Things we've researched and things where the survey was either flawed or the research was flawed. Obviously, the speed bumps on Shore Drive were removed recently because of things we brought forward. So something regarding the analysis to put those in the first place was flawed. We had live with those speed bumps for, I don't know if it was 4 or 6 months. I didn't go back and look. It wasn't with the risk that they presented. So I'm a little concerned about the analysis going forward, that we take it more seriously before we take actions for things that could cause problems for the residents. I don't want to be too redundant with what Gary said. Let me skip over some things. Concerned about the emergency vehicles. Again, what's the problem we're trying to solve? I hear safety, and then all of a sudden I hear traffic calming. Well, some of the things that occurred, were they really because of speed, or were they because of lighting or other situations? For example, we talk a lot about the children. Well, there are big yards, there's sidewalks, there's another piece of road, and there's narrow streets. Is there another answer? Landscaping burns, right? Those are in people's front yards or fences. You don't have the random baller child running across the street. And I'm not saying that's what occurred, but there are other solutions to children's safety issues. So let's talk about the solutions. I mentioned that speed bumps were installed and then they were removed. I'm a little concerned that for 4 to 6 months they were there. And again, we had risk introduced. Raising the speed limit to 30, I'm not a big fan of that because I know what happens. You put it at 30, people are going to go 35. You put it at 25, people are going to go 30. So that's just my personal opinion. The narrow streets, Shore Drive is already too narrow to go to begin with. We have bikes, we have runners, we have Amazon. I think I mentioned that in the last public meeting. We have lawn services, and we're trying to dodge speed bumps and all that at the same time with oncoming traffic because there's no passing lane. So I didn't feel that the study allowed enough time for the police presence to be recognized. 11 days. Well, from the time a cop's there and people notice, and then a word of mouth, it takes more than 11 days, maybe on day 5, day 6, but that 11-day span did not completely capture what it would take to see the impact from word of mouth and presence of police to really see the impact. I personally like to see more police patrol to take care of the speeding issue. Where there is one, the outliers, the guy that's going 75 miles an hour. And also, another problem we've had is just more crime in the neighborhood and more break-ins. I've had neighbors a few houses down from me saying they have people stickering in their sliding glass doors. Yeah, people roaming around the neighborhoods, right? Break-ins, murders. Police presence would help with all these things. The other thing, I think the Shore Drive East residents that use Lafayette to get to the nearest grocery store, the nearest gas station, the nearest restaurants, and the nearest retail, we should have input on that speed bump area. So it's not like you live on this street, so you get input on these speed bumps. You live on this street, so you get, it should be any of us that regularly drive those roads. And then I really just think we need to talk more about the bike paths. So, did I use all my time?
You did great.
Okay,
Thank
Gary,
you.
do you need another minute? Something for you? Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else on this side of the room? Come on up.
Timer. Sudianis Clone, 402 Arlington Avenue East. I am on the back side of Lafayette. I am not a fan of the speed bumps. I stay away from Lafayette every bit that I possibly can, and so do a lot of other people. So the studies that are being done just on Lafayette are not accounting for all the people that are bypassing Lafayette and scooting quicker down Arlington Avenue. So just be aware, Shore Drive may not be as much of an issue, but Lafayette has a great road that follows right along. I hadn't noticed it. I had heard a number of my neighbors complaining about it. Had not noticed it, but I came home last night after dark getting groceries, 3 cars right back to back, boom, 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 scooting down the road pretty fast. So be aware that it's not just Lafayette and studying how well it affects Lafayette because you lose some of that traffic on people that are routing in other directions. No, I do not want speed bumps on Arlington Avenue, and so I don't want that to help us stop it, but I do think we need to look for some other options, and please keep in mind the people that can bypass what we're trying to do on Lafayette. Thank you.
Thank you. Side of the room, come on up. Back there in the back. You're next, okay? Your name and address, please.
Thank you. Don Schmidt, 300 Shore Drive East. In order to have safe streets, you need 2 things. You need good physical condition of the street, and you need safe drivers. Lafayette is about as safe a street as you could possibly have. It's straight, there's no blind spots, it's got a well landscaped median, it's got very wide lanes, it's got a bike lane on each side, it's got sidewalks on each side. So it's speed in and of itself on Lafayette Boulevard is not the issue. You can slow people down, but here's the problem. When you slow them down with these, and they can call them cushions if they want, I call them roadway obstructions, because that's what they are. When you slow people down with roadway obstructions, and you're artificially slowing them down for the sole purpose of slowing them down, what you get are angry and frustrated drivers. And when you have angry and frustrated drivers, what you get is impulsive, aggressive driving. And we saw from the survey itself what some of these problems are. If you look at page 14 of the survey, you will see that people are revving up their engines, going around, they're trying to avoid the thing, they're going up on lawns. I mean, this is driving patterns that never existed before the obstructions were put in. I do, and the reason is you have actually made people angry. I mean, actually angry and frustrated. So, and I want to point out that one of the number one reason on Lafayette why these were put in, according to the staff, is to protect pedestrians from Bicentennial Park. I have been driving up and down Lafayette Boulevard for 30 years, back when it was a dirt road to now. I have never seen pedestrians crossing Lafayette Boulevard to get to the park. They come up the bike lanes, and I'm sure occasionally they have people that cross, I'm sure. Here's the issue, though. Putting these obstructions onto the roadway has caused drivers, because I've seen it, to swerve into the bike lanes to try to get around the obstructions. So what you're doing, you're not protecting people, kids on bikes, from excessive speed, because the drivers used to go straight down the road, not in a bike lane. Now they don't. And just to illustrate the anger, I mean, it happened to me personally. I'm driving down Lafayette. I get over the first speed bump. There's a pickup truck behind me. I get over the first speed bump, fine. I go over the second one, pickup truck revs his engine, goes roaring around me, and hightail down the road. Why? He was angry. He was angry that he had to be artificially slowed down. Let me say one more thing. Lafayette Boulevard is a wonderful street. It's a gateway to Tampa Bay. It's a gateway to the heart of Oldsmar. And when it went from a dirt road to what it is today, there's actually a suggestion that we put an archway over it. Welcome to Oldsmar. It's a welcoming thing. Lafayette Boulevard used to be a pleasure to drive down with the median and the width and all of that. Now it's not. From the survey, the average speed on one side of Lafayette Boulevard after these obstructions were put in was 17 miles an hour. That's the average speed. So just a personal anecdote, my wife's sister lives in Hillsborough County. She drove over to see us a couple weeks ago. First words out of her mouth when she got to our house was, "What in the world happened to Lafayette Boulevard? It's horrible." I don't think Oldsmar wants to make that impression on people who are coming down Lafayette Boulevard to our city.
Okay.
So what I'm asking you is, please get these things removed while you're getting on with further studies or whatever you're doing. But the first step is, let's take them away and get back to actual safe driving.
Thank you, Don. Yep.
Hi, Esperanza Hughes Johnson, 9 Stony Point Court, Oldsmar, Florida. 346776. And I'm in denial, but I have to use glasses. My eyes are not what it used to be. First of all, I would like to say thank you for allowing us to be here and speak, and also for listening to what we had to say and the facts that we provided that helped remove the speed bumps that we had in Short Drive. They were truthfully very, very, not just annoying, but a hazard for us. I almost had in couple head-on conditions because of the golf cars coming in the middle of it, and my car being in the other side, and somebody else trying to avoid the golf cart. So, with the memorandum that the city staff provided, city staff stated that the service main purpose was to collect feedback from the community members who frequently drive on Short Drive East and Lafayette, including those who have yet to contact the city. But unfortunately, staff did not want to take into consideration 31 responses to the survey because they did not send letters to those people, and the people that respond were not in Lafayette and Short Drive. I believe that if you want to hear from everyone, you should take into consideration everyone that's taking the time to respond. So, moreover, staff is recommending that only the residents of Lafayette be considered on the next survey to see if the speed bumps on Lafayette should remain. When once again, as Gary said earlier, the speed bumps on Lafayette affected all of us, as the gentleman before me said it. Everyone that lives somewhere else besides Lafayette has to go through it. And for some of us that have to drive it several times a day, it is very hard and it's very damaging to our vehicles. We have to drive through each one of them every day, as I said. And when the speed limit, also for Short Drive, the gentleman mentioned that it used to be 30 miles an hour. You are correct, because when we moved here, the speed limit in Short Drive was 30 miles an hour. And as a matter of fact, we participated in a council meeting where it was actually voted to lower the speed limit to 25 miles an hour, because in that council meeting, it was said that most people drive 5 to 10 miles above the speed limit. So lowering it to 25, it was going to accomplish what we wanted, which is everybody going to 30 miles an hour. And if we look at the document that the staff, Mr. Simpson provided, it shows that it accomplished what you guys wanted to do, what we all wanted to do, which is getting people to do 30 miles an hour. That's exactly where we are. So if we have accomplished what we wanted, the question remains, why are we trying to come up with a possible solution for a problem that doesn't exist? We actually solved the problem. So if there's a person that is driving 60 or 75 miles an hour, please put a police person there to take this person away. I mean, all they have to do is stop and take their license. They're going way above the speed limit. So I don't think anybody will have an issue with that. Don't spend thousands and thousands of dollars in solutions that negatively affect all of us. And also, if we're looking for a project to do or to spend some money on, perhaps you guys want to consider widening Short Drive and adding a bike path in both directions, or widening the sidewalk so that it makes it easier for people that want to jog or walk to be able to do that, because right now that is an issue. And I know Mr. Simpson also mentioned that the reason why the speed limit wasn't raised to 30 miles an hour is because golf cars couldn't drive through it. But as per Florida statutes, and I'm sure Mr. Truss, can collaborate, Florida Statute 316.2126C it states that golf and utility vehicles may be operated on state roads that have a posted speed limit of 30 miles per hour. So based on this, it shouldn't be an issue if you guys decide to increase the speed limit to 30 miles an hour. The golf cars can actually pass that. And if Oldsmar has a restriction on that, that can easily be fixed by council members. So thank you once again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in. Come on up.
I'm a resident of Lafayette Boulevard.
Address,
And my
name and address.
I'm
Name
sorry?
and address. Full name and address.
David Gray off of Lafayette Boulevard, 525.
Thank you.
So basically, my day starts off with if I leave my resident, I hit the stop sign at Buckingham. Then I have 8 speed bumps before I hit State Street. These speed bumps, Catholic trauming, whatever you call them, basically you almost have to stop before, I drive a truck, you almost have to stop before you roll. They're really a roll-through stop sign. So for me to go from Buckingham to State Street, I'm essentially stopping 10 times. So if I'm gonna make a run to Lowe's or Publix and come back home, now I'm at 20 times. But theoretically, if you're getting the rush hour traffic coming home on Lafayette Boulevard, all those cars in front of you, they're slowing down to go over the speed bumps. They basically come to a stop. The cars behind them, it's a domino effect. So my other issue is we have 4 speed bumps between Bicentennial and State Street. There's no houses on that side of the street. No residences where we have speed bumps on that side of the street. So the other issue being so-called carbon footprint for the green folks. Well, for me, it's a green thing coming out of my wallet because I'm spending more money on gas and repair for my vehicle because these so-called speed bumps, they are aggressive. And they do rattle your suspension and your steering and yourself. So to me, I look at them as elevated potholes. You're gonna go over them slow. So that consists of my day. So I heavily oppose these being on Lafayette Boulevard. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side would like to speak to the council? All right, I'm gonna move over to this side. Anyone else? Come on up.
Diane Haberman again, 10 Sunny Point Court. And yes, I've been in Oldsmar for over 25 years. And again, we have said many things about these speed bumps, and really that very few are actually in favor of these. One of the things that I looked at too was, I think one of the proposals was to actually narrow Shore Drive down in the area where I live. I measured the street today with a tape measure. We have 9-foot lanes, 18 foot across, which is the minimum for the state of Florida. And I also saw that most municipalities, if you increase the speed limit, then you should also widen the roadway. So if you did want to increase the speed limit to 30 or 35, most municipalities would require you to widen that roadway to 10 to 12-foot lanes, which means that you would actually have to widen Shore Drive in order to safely drive at those speeds. So I don't think that given the narrowness of Shore Drive, that is really a viable option, is to go ahead and increase the speed limit because, again, that really, again, with most municipalities in the state of Florida, would not be a safe roadway. What we really need to do is we need to go ahead and provide safer access for, again, bicyclists, joggers, those kinds of things. And that would be widening the speed or widening the roadway, but to include bike paths. And again, I know that this was shot down years ago because what they had proposed to do was to put the Pinellas Trail down Shore Drive and bisect the homes that are on the water side with 6-foot wide sidewalks. And of course, that didn't fly very well. We're just talking about speed, just the regular bike paths on either side of the roadway, not for Pinellas Trail purposes, but actually just for safe roadway use for those people who want to walk, drive, ride bikes and things like that. So, I mean, if you're looking at really increasing safety, what you need to look at is increasing safety of that roadway, not just slowing down traffic. And all of the speed humps in the world, all of the roundabouts are never, ever going to mitigate the impulsive decision of a 6-year-old child. And it was a very tragic thing. But to go ahead and put us down the path of spending money and doing these projects for some zero, death, fatality, that is just not really something that is achievable, is not using our money and our taxpayer dollars judiciously. And not only that, you're putting in a false sense of security, thinking we've done these things and everything is fine. All the children can run free. Well, no, that's not the reality of it. And so I think those things need to be taken into account as well.
Thank you very much. All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak to the council before I close it? All right, we're done. Thank you so much. First of all, I wanted to say thank you. It's very important that the residents do come out. Today, I wanted to hear your voices, and I really do appreciate everyone speaking and telling us your thoughts and what you think about it. I just want to say thank you for coming. Felicia, what should we do next? Is there anything we want to do, or?
Next agenda item.
Yeah, this was just a presentation.
All right.
The next agenda item.
All right, then we are done, so we're going to move on. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for coming tonight and waiting until agenda item 12 to share your thoughts.
All right, item 13.
Item number 13 is approve the special event application fee waiver request for performances by Opal Theater presented by Oldsmar Friends of the Arts. Opal Theater is a city-based youth program that provides opportunities to those inspired by the performing arts to introduce themselves to the stage and to grow as a performer. Prior to moving the performances outdoors to Ari Olds Parks in October of 2021, performances were held at Cypress Forest Rec Center, and the city assumed all the cost of the performance. Following the move to Ari Olds Parks in 2021, with the support of the Oldsmar Friends of the Arts, the performances continued on the outdoor stage. Fee waivers for the events were requested by Oldsmar Friends of the Arts and granted by City Council for the outdoor performances, which at that time did not include utilities. Considering that Opal Theater is a city-based program, the city would have incurred the same utility cost if they were held at Cypress Forest Rec Center. Staff is requesting a waiver of the past utility fees in the amount of $180. Additionally, Oldsmar Friends of the Art is requesting a fee waiver for the April 2023 performance of Mary Poppins in the amount of $860. A copy of the fee waiver is attached for approval. Staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you very much for that. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion on this item? Yes, go
I
ahead.
just had one quick question because I couldn't quite hear. Thank you for closing the door, Suda. The utility fees of the past utility fees of 180, that's not part of the application here for the next performance. That was for a performance that already occurred, but we can give that money back to Opal, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't be giving it back to Opal. The utility fees were not waived for 2 performances previously.
Okay.
Opal has not rendered the fees.
Okay,
So
got
it
it.
wouldn't be giving them back because we didn't get them.
You didn't take it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Okay.
Yes.
And then the other one is for the future fund. Okay,
That is
thank you
correct.
for that clarification.
Okay, anything else, any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. There you go. All right, item 14.
Item number 14, Mayor, is approve the special event application fee waiver request for Oldsmar Friends of the Arts Mardi Gras fundraiser to be held on Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. On Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, Oldsmar Friends of the Arts will host a Mardi Gras themed fundraiser at Veterans Memorial Park. Oldsmar Friends of the Arts is a valued nonprofit organization that has provided support to Opal Theater and other performing arts programs in Oldsmar. As a nonprofit, they rely on fundraising efforts to further their efforts to support the performing arts in our community. This item requests some waiver fees in the amount of $560. In accordance with the special event guide, the organization requests the city waive the fees associated with the event. All other, all other external costs, including utility cost of $60, will be the responsibility of the event organizer as outlined in the application. It's anticipated that the event will host close to 200 guests and volunteers. Copy of the application is attached and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item?
I'm so glad it's going to be at Veterans Park again. I think that, yeah, I think that's a really great move. It was a lot easier to see and move around and highlight, you know, all the beautiful table decorations and everything. I'm excited. So
We get to go this, we get to go this year, right?
I know, we get to go this year because
Yeah.
it's the third.
Oh, it
He
didn't
went-
fall in a council meeting?
No, it's
Yeah.
the second.
We get
That's
to,
the second
we get
Tuesday.
to go at the beginning of the event, not
And
at
it was
the end.
cold. It was cold last year.
It was cold last
We
year.
came after the council meeting. It was freezing.
We always had to come after the council.
Well, thank you. I'm
But
glad.
now we can,
I'm glad, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
yeah, I'm
Okay, all in
excited.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 15.
Item number 15 is approve the agreement of the use of the recreation facilities with the Oldsmar Little League. The City of Oldsmar partners with youth sports organizations to provide recreation-based sports activities at the Oldsmar Sports Complex. This item recommends the approval of an agreement that utilizes the baseball and softball fields 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, located in Phase 1 portion of the complex. The agreement reflects a field allocation that considers the number of players served by the organization. Based on their needs and goals, Oldsmar Little League is allocated field space Monday through Friday from 5 to 11 p.m. and on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. This allocation does not include Sundays or when the fields are used for tournaments or closed for maintenance. The league will be responsible for reimbursing the city 50% of the electrical costs for the concession stand year-round and $10 per hour per field for baseball lights whenever used. In an effort to assist the league in reducing escalating operating expenses, the city will forego collecting the custodial cleaning reimbursement charges for the contract year, which is estimated to be $1,224. The agreement has been reviewed by the city attorney. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you very much. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 16.
Item number 16, approve a grant agreement between Forward Pinellas and the City of Oldsmar for the Safe Streets for All project. City Council has previously adopted Resolution 2022-09 supporting Safe Streets Pinellas, a Vision Zero effort to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on the Pinellas Transportation Network. Consequently, in support of this resolution, the city and Forward Pinellas jointly applied for the Safe Streets for Roads and Roads for All grant from the Federal Department of Transportation. Through a mobility study, this project will review pedestrian experiences throughout the city's downtown area and recommend improvements that the city may eventually pursue. The city is providing a 20% match to Forward Pinellas for this grant. The overall project is not to exceed $124,418. The city's local match is $24,418, and there are sufficient unencumbered funds available in the account to cover the city's portion. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion, how about a second?
Second.
All right. A motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item?
Thank you, Forward Pinellas.
That's great. Thank you for
I
pursuing.
don't know if they're still
this.
here, but thank you.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, City Manager.
You're welcome,
Great
Mayor.
job.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
next,
to our staff.
that's right. Thank you, staff. Next item is the city clerk, and it's item 17, scheduling visioning work session.
Yes, so this is item 17. At the December 5th, 2023 council meeting, the council visioning work session scheduled for December 12th was canceled. This item seeks to set a new date for the council visioning work session. Strategic Government Resources will be facilitating a council work session to establish the city's new vision, mission, goals, and city council priorities for fiscal years 2024 to 2025 and fiscal years 2025 to 2026. The work session will be located here in the council chamber at 101 State Street West, Oldsmar. The following dates are for council's consideration this evening: January 11th, 2024 from 4 to 8 p.m. and January 22nd, 2024 from 4 to 8 p.m.
So I understand we have a consensus for the 11th? Do we?
I think
That works for everyone.
Everyone okay with the 11th?
Works for me.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion on this item? I have one comment. Is there going to be any food?
There will be.
That's a comment in the form of a question.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on our agenda is council comments, and we are going to start with Councilmember Katie Cannon.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank all of the residents that came out tonight. I know not everybody abided by the request to hold their comments about the speed bumps until the agenda item was reached, and I understand that. You know, people are here to say what they want to say, and I know two folks came with kids or needed to leave, so that's fine. I'm glad people felt that they could, you know, express how they're you know, reacting and the information that they're collecting from their neighbors. And I actually have a lot more questions about not even the things that were in the Q&A in the back of our packet, but I have some more questions that were raised tonight. So I think this is all part of this continuing discussion. I liked that map, and I'm looking forward to continuing this this process. Separate and apart, I wanted to thank Nicole for coming tonight. She was very reluctant to come, but she is a fantastic human, and I think it's important that we recognize all of the community organizers that we have in our city. We are very lucky to have a lot of them, actually. And, you know, the city's arms or budget or, you know, level of responsibility with respect to certain issues in the community, whether it's, you know, something that's a charitable purpose or something that's normally a nonprofit purpose. You know, we can't always do everything, and it's pretty cool that we have folks that will show up and check on you and help you clean up your yard the day after a tornado or, you know, whatever it might be. And I was really honored to recognize her and her family tonight. I think it's been said a million times, but thank you to city staff. We made it through the final push of all of the events for our winter season. I hope that our Parks and Recreation Director is going to sleep well and hibernate for the winter for a little bit, take a little break. Never actually does. But city staff does work really hard all year, and especially the Parks and Recreation Department this time of year, and I really appreciate it. And I wanted to wish our city attorney a very happy birthday. Still 40 years young. And wish all of you a very happy holiday and happy New Year. I'm sure we'll see each other, you know, in the interim, but still. It's nice to see everybody tonight. You look very festive tonight, Mayor.
Oh, thank you.
The tie.
You know, Adam Anderson wanted to steal my coat, and I said, no,
Yes,
go away.
Indeed. And if you could do me a favor and let your good friend Santa and Mrs. Claus know that I heard the children of our neighborhoods really appreciated their efforts this year.
I will
And I
tell
know
them.
that takes up a lot of extra time in an already busy schedule, and adding that into your list is tell Santa that's a really big deal.
Thank you
and
very
I hope we
much.
can continue doing that
I'll
for
make sure they
as long
know.
as Santa is willing.
Yes, make sure they know. Thank you, and Happy New Year to you too, and Merry Christmas. All right, next is Vice Mayor Andrew Knapp.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. Let's see, it was 2 Mondays ago, I attended the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council's annual meeting. That was my first time to be able to attend the meeting in person after attending previously virtually. They got a chance to install their new board of directors for the upcoming year. So Mayor Woody Brown, who was the acting chair for the board of directors, is now in his full term as chair of the board. And Renee Flowers is now, please forgive me if I get the titles wrong, treasurer, secretary. And then Mo Freeney is the vice chair. So they all were installed. And in addition to that, we had Ren Kroll, who was acting as the interim executive director or interim director for the board. And she now was kind of expedited into becoming the official executive director for the Regional Planning Council. So it's a very festive occasion. Everybody was real happy to be taking on their new roles. One of the points that Ren shared with the board there was one of her priorities going into next year is establishing more or less a grants team for their organization, and which is intended to help other grants teams that may be forming and developing for the municipalities around the area, whether it's a team or individuals, to assist them in seeking out more money. So that was really good that they're out there getting in front of resiliency projects and really seeking all the resources that we need to get that funding. Next, to kind of echo off of Councilmember Gannon's comments as it relates to the presentation we had tonight, it definitely seems to be there's a fair amount of undisputed information, and then it does seem to be some either conflicting or disputed information out there. So I think it may be worthwhile to kind of, for each of us, if there's any observations to be made, to document that and get that clarified, because I think that'll help staff and the citizens all understand better of, well, what was directed patrol. Like one of the things I wrote down was what was a speed study versus directed patrol. It seemed like there was kind of conflicting understanding of what was really going on during the evaluation period after the speed cushions were put in place. So I think clearing up those things further will help just further the conversations and the collaborative effort of trying to get to a better solution. So that's just one example. I'm sure there's plenty of others that we can each identify. The next thing is, since he's still here, I'll answer your question that I will be filing my Form 6 without issue. So,
Me too. The portal doesn't go live until the 31st, so we can't do anything in advance.
well, that's not their turns yet. You got to
I'm
wait.
filling mine out.
I don't think there's any question.
Anyways, so sorry. So just real quick, that's to take care of that. And in closing, happy early birthday to Tom, right?
Thank you.
And it is also, you share a birthday with my father-in-law. So happy early birthday to Mr. Don. He's probably not watching, but. And in closing, just happy holidays, everybody. I hope you enjoy the new year. Have a safe new year. And we will be here a day, 2 days after.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, Councilmember Graber.
Thank you, and Vice Mayor, I sincerely hope now that your father-in-law is watching, because you can report back to him when you get back home, so that's fantastic. Happy early birthday, Tom. I told a story earlier, so I left to come to the meeting today, and I was driving over. My phone was already on silent. I looked down, my wife had called me, and I said, hey, is everything okay, because that never happens. And she said, as soon as you left, a fire truck pulled up, and there was like large sirens and everything. So she got concerned that I had been hurt. It was Santa, so that's fine. Thank you for scaring her. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year. And so I can go home tonight. Happy 10th anniversary to me and my bride, which will occur before we meet again. But that's all I have, Mayor. Thanks so much.
All right. Councilmember Jared Bussman.
Thank you, Mayor. I love this process tonight of listening to these citizens, hearing their complaints, hearing their concerns, just going back and reminding me of how I got involved with this, and started with my stop sign, and we've talked a little bit, Felicia and I, about proper MUCTD, if I got that right, Daniel. Close enough. And how potentially my stop sign that we put in wasn't done that way. And I think that it's important to understand doing it the right way and making sure that it follows, because the years and years of studies that have been done are driving these policies. I say that as I was walking out of my house the other day, and I watched this guy doing probably about 40 down Washington, went right through my stop sign. I'm like, wow, how did that happen? And before I could get that thought in my head, the next car went through the stop sign. I'm like, well, no one's stopping at stop signs. So I appreciate all the citizens coming out. I think it was great. David, I'm going to regretfully say no. I have some personal issues with Form 6, some significant conflicts with my corporation that will prevent my ability to fill that out. That will disclose information about my company that I cannot move forward with. So I'll be resigning as of the 30th of this month. The number of elected officials that have resigned, it's shocking that this is coming. I've talked to the city attorney, I've talked to the city manager. I'm gonna miss this. It's been fun. I enjoyed working with all of you. But there's no way for me to protect my family interests, protect my sole source of income, and fill out that Form 6 ethically. So I will regretfully be leaving the council. And, you know, over the past 2 years, you know, going back, you know, we've had our challenges, but I am proud of the work we've done. The work we've accomplished, the community engagement, the things we put into place. And I hope that you guys continue that, and I think you will. The citizens, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you. It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna miss it. If the legislature wants to listen and hear what 40% of the elected officials that are resigning across the state want to say, maybe they'll change this law, maybe it'll give me the opportunity to come back, but at this point I cannot continue. So I'll be here through the 30th. After that, I'd love to have lunch with all of you, talk to you. You know, sunshine law won't apply. Just get you my thoughts, you know. That's all I got. Thank you, Mayor.
Gonna miss you, buddy. Thank you for that. I'm gonna miss you. I don't really have much to say. I just want to echo Dan. You did a great job today in your presentation. As some of the residents mentioned that you had to deal with, I guess, in the prior meeting, you did an awesome job, and I want to just echo that. And I thank you for your service to our city. And I'm really grateful for all the hard work you and your team are doing to keep our community safe. I wanted to bring that out first.
Mayor, before we get to the last item on the agenda, can I address the
Sure.
council about a couple things?
Sure.
Now that this resignation has been made known to the council, I need to go over how I consider the process will be moving forward.
All right.
And so that we can go ahead and start thinking about how that is going to happen. And let's start with the charter. Charter section 3.07C provides a provision as to how we fill vacancies. I just want to read that to you, and I'll give you some of my thoughts on it. So that paragraph reads, a vacancy in the council shall be filled by a majority vote of the remaining members of the council within 30 days of the vacancy, and the person so appointed shall serve as council member or mayor until the next regular election. If you follow down further into that paragraph, it says if the next regular election is more than 365 days away, a special election shall be scheduled to be held not sooner than 120 days nor more than 180 days following the occurrence of the vacancies. So let me boil that down. I'm going to give you, first of all, Councilmember Buckman's term expires in March of 2025. So it doesn't expire in this March. So the term lasts another 12 months. Therefore, that 365-day provision comes into play. So you have to fill the vacancy by January 29th based upon the resignation on December 30th. And I want to talk to you about that, and then talk to you about the special election. Based upon the timeframes that are in your charter, that means that there has to be a special election between April 28th, 2024 and June 27th, 2024. Once that date is determined, and by the way, the city clerk and the city manager and I will be working with the supervisor of elections to try to figure out that date. And the reason why I'm suggesting that you give us the opportunity to speak to the supervisor of election, there may be other cities that are trying to have special elections as a result of this Form 6 requirement. And so if we can combine them, we can maybe cut the cost of the special election. Otherwise, if there are no others, you're going to take the full hit for this special election cost. So you have 2 council meetings in January before the January 29th requirement hits. You have a meeting on January 2nd, and you have a meeting on January 16th. So here's my suggested way that we move forward. On January the 2nd, you make known that there is an application for the appointment of that particular seat that is going to be vacant starting January 1st. The application then would be filled out by whoever is interested in becoming the interim council member until the special election. Those applications would have an application deadline. My suggestion to you is, and again, we're going to talk about this a little bit more on January 2nd, have the application period start on the 2nd and end on the 9th. That way we'll have a week then between the 9th and the 16th in which to review the applications, get it in the agenda packet, and actually have some consideration on the 16th. I would propose that the application process be as follows, that there would be an introduction by the person or persons that are interested in filling out and becoming the council member. After that introduction, there would be a question and answer period. You'll have an opportunity, if you don't know the individual, to ask questions and get your answers. And then once all of those are done, if there are 3 individuals, let's say we're going to go through 3 introductions, 3 question and answer periods, and then the public will be given an opportunity to make comments, not to ask questions, to make comments. Once that is done, then there would be a ballot that would be prepared, and that ballot would then be made available in the packet, and the city clerk would know at the end of the ballots being produced who is going to fill that position. It would be the highest vote getter on those ballots. So once that occurs, it is my belief that you do that on the 16th, that you can immediately swear that individual into office. And so at your first council meeting in February, you'll have a full board again. So we don't have that 2-2 possible split on any votes because there's only 4 council members. So we're going to bring that back to you on January 2nd. I'll provide you with the application that I've created for this process and a layout of the actual memorandum as to how it would be done based upon my suggestions. And obviously, there is no legal requirement that it be done any particular way. We just have to make sure that we do it in such a way that it meets all the deadlines. So with that being said, if you have questions after the meeting, please give me a call. But we'll start putting this together now that we know that Councilmember Buckman has resigned effective December 30th. So I don't know if anybody has any questions now, but I would prefer that maybe we could just deal with that later since it's not an agendized item tonight, that we can either do it offline or at the January 2nd meeting. So thanks, Mayor.
Great birthday present. Well, anyways, thank you for that. All right, I'm going to continue.
Yes.
All right. The only other thing I have is I just want to say that, Jared, I'm going to miss you. I'm disappointed, but I understand. You know, you got to look out for your family. Other than that, I just want to thank the citizens for coming out and speaking their voice tonight. I think we all heard what you had to say, and I think we'll move forward, and we have some concerns. I'm going to speak with the city manager about it in the next coming days, or maybe even after the holidays. Other than that, Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays, Happy New Year. We'll see you on January 2nd.
Okay, we need the last agenda item.
Yep. Next item on our agenda is approved tentative agenda for January 2nd, 2024 council meeting. Does anyone wish to pull or add to the agenda?
Do we need to add?
Need to add what Tom just discussed.
recommended?
So I move to approve the tentative agenda for January 2nd with the amendment of the agenda item related to Councilmember Buckman's resignation.
Can I ask just a quick question? We scheduled the workshop, visioning workshop for the 11th. You guys want to give more time to the 22nd? I don't know if, since,
Well, we got a motion on the floor right now, so we need a second and then a discussion on that, and we can address that next.
So I have a motion.
Second the
Second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. You have a question?
I was just recommending, I didn't want to say anything during the visioning workshop, wanted to wait for comments. We set that for the 11th. It sounds like whoever would replace me would be on the 16th. I don't know if you want 4 people at that visioning workshop. I'm just throwing that out there.
That would be up to the pleasure of the council.
But wouldn't we have to put that on an agenda and vote it?
I've already voted.
So we're going to have to put it on maybe since it was for January 11th, you can address it on
On the
January
2nd,
2nd
to
meeting.
reschedule it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we've rescheduled it like 5 times, I think we leave it, but that's just my gut.
You want to put it on the agenda and then we can,
Discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
need
can't
to,
talk about it right now because
Yeah.
it's not an agendized
Right.
item.
You need to withdraw do we want to put it on the agenda for
Oh,
the second?
God, okay. Sorry,
So that would
I'm
be
having
your
a,
motion.
Well, that motion's already been acted
Okay.
upon, so now this would be a motion for reconsideration to authorize the further amendment of the agenda to add.
Before we go there,
Calendaring.
I feel that we can handle it. I personally do. But, I mean, that's just me.
then if nobody makes the motion to reconsider
Stay as it
approval
is.
of the tentative agenda, then it stands, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
you good?
We're good?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, anything else?